Hello, dear friends, welcome back to your channel. Now, the sun is like a big, hot ball of gas that gives us light and heat. It's in a stable phase, and we're safe. In about 5 billion years, the sun will get old and puffy, like a giant balloon. It will grow so big that it might swallow up the earth. During this time, the inside of the sun will change, and it will puff out its outer layers, creating a colorful cloud of gas called a planetary nebula. What's left? After all that, the sun will shrink down to a tiny, super dense thing called a white dwarf. It won't shine anymore, and it'll slowly cool down over trillions of years. So, the sun won't explode or destroy everything in a big, sudden way. It'll just change and become very different over a very, very long time. But don't worry, this won't happen for billions of years, so we have a lot of time to figure things out. The sun will eventually undergo a series of transformations as it nears the end of its life cycle. It's important to note that this process will take billions of years, so it won't happen anytime soon. Theatrically, here's a more detailed explanation of each stage. The sun today, right now, the sun is a massive ball of hot, glowing gas, mainly hydrogen and helium. It's like a giant nuclear reactor, where hydrogen atoms in its core are constantly merging together to form helium. This process releases a tremendous amount of energy in the form of light and heat, which is what keeps us warm and provides daylight. The red giant phase, in about 5 billion years, as the sun burns through its hydrogen fuel over billions of years, it will start to run out. When this happens, it will undergo some significant changes. The core of the sun will shrink and get hotter, while the outer layers will expand outward. This expansion will cause the sun to become a red giant. During this phase, it could grow so large that it engulfs the inner planets, including Earth, which wouldn't be a safe place to live anymore. Helium fusion. In the core of this red giant, the sun will begin to fuse helium atoms together to form carbon and oxygen. This process will release a lot of energy and create a lot of pressure, which will push the outer layers of the sun even farther out into space. Planetary nebula. Eventually, the outer layers of the sun, which now contain heavy elements like carbon and oxygen, will be expelled into space. This creates a beautiful and colorful cloud of gas and dust known as a planetary nebula. It's called that because early astronomers thought these clouds looked like distant planets. White dwarf. What's left behind in the center is a tiny, incredibly dense core called a white dwarf. It's about the size of Earth but with a lot more mass packed into it. This white dwarf will continue to shine for a long time, but not because it's burning like a regular star. Instead, it's slowly cooling down and fading over trillions of years. Eventually, it will become a cold, dark, black dwarf, which won't emit any light or heat. So, the sun's transformation is a slow and gradual process that takes billions of years. It won't suddenly explode or cause any catastrophic event for a very, very long time. And by that point, humans, if we still exist, will have had to adapt to these changes or find a way to leave our solar system to survive. After the sun goes through its life cycle and eventually becomes a cold, dark white dwarf, which will take trillions of years, the fate of Earth and any remaining life on it is not a pleasant one. Here's what would likely happen. Loss of habitability. As the Sun ages and expands into a red giant, the increasing heat and radiation will make Earth uninhabitable long before it's engulfed. All life, as we know it, would have already perished. Engulfment. During the red giant phase, the Sun might expand to the point where it engulfs the Earth entirely. If not, the intense heat and solar winds could strip away Earth's atmosphere and oceans. Destruction of Earth. If Earth isn't engulfed, it might be torn apart or melted by the Sun's intense heat and gravity as it loses its outer layers. Solar system changes. The planets and objects in our solar system would also be affected. Orbits would become chaotic as the Sun's mass changes during its transformation. White dwarf remnant. Once the Sun completes its transformation into a white dwarf, it will no longer shine or provide any heat. It will simply be a cold, dense remnant of its former self, gradually cooling down over trillions of years. Dark and frozen Earth. Earth, if it still exists, would be a dark, frozen world. Any remnants of its atmosphere and oceans would have dissipated into space, and the surface temperature would be just a few degrees above absolute zero. In summary, as the Sun reaches the end of its life cycle, the Earth and the entire solar system will undergo dramatic and destructive changes, ultimately leading to a dark, frozen, and lifeless planet. However, this process will take an unimaginably long time, and humans, if they still exist, will likely have found a way to adapt, leave the solar system, or become extinct long before these events occur. If you enjoy the content and would like to see more, I would really appreciate it if you could consider subscribing to my channel. Your support means a lot to me. Thank you.